Welcome to the Family Office Podcast, powered by FamilyOffices.com.
You're listening to Freed on Business. To talk to Jim and his guests, call 305-541-2350. That's 305-541-2350. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we're back, and we're back with an awesome guest. I keep losing my audio because I'm getting so excited. I keep pulling the headsets out of the hook up there. We've got Richard Wilson on. Richard is the guy who basically started the sector of family office service providers. He was the first guy that I became aware of. He holds the preeminent conclaves for all the high net worth investors. They all come there to meet, greet, and find deals. Welcome to the show, Richard Wilson.
Thanks, Jim.
Wow, that was a real big thanks, Jim. Hey, Richard, now, you got to have longer answers than that. Now, Richard, first off, how does a family know whether or not they should have a family office?
I think any family that has $100 million in net worth or more for sure needs a single-family office. It doesn't mean they should leave a private bank. It doesn't mean they should act conservative or risky, but they need to have someone looking out for them holistically for sure.
So you say holistically, and then you talk about the banks. Many of the banks would say that they take a holistic approach. You're really talking about something else, not just the bank, not just the stockbroker, not just the real estate broker. It all comes together, no?
Right. For sure. So the whole reason the family office industry exists is that if you're worth $100 million, you don't have the time to remember what your insurance agent said, tell your CPA, tell your wealth manager, and tie it all together. You need somebody playing quarterback for your whole balance sheet.
So then the family office is a legal structure that also comes with a bureaucratic structure to help protect somebody's, I'll say it this way, assets.
Right.
Well, I'll say that 3 more times at least. So, Richard, how'd you get started in the family office advisement business?
Really started by just seeing that while I was trying to learn more about the space and meeting with families, that nobody else was being open and providing genuine value. So I started writing on it every single day, and every time I met with a family, I shared what I learned. And in the first 2 years, those outside the industry hired me as a consultant. And then after 2 years, $100 million and billion-dollar families started hiring me for advice because almost no one else has met with 1,000 family offices face-to-face. So I can see the best practices arising.
Wow. And so actually you gave a great high five to what we're going to talk about in the second half of the hour, because you started out by blogging on the space, and that's how you got gravitas and became an expert, became well-known, and then put all that to use to create, I got to just say it this way, the billion-dollar empire.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we found that the more we give away, it sounds corny, but the more we give away, the more we get in return. This last book that I wrote called The Single Family Office, it's the #1 best-selling book in the whole industry. We spent 700 hours writing it, and you can buy it for $7. So it's like a penny per hour for the time we spent on it. And we've met 60 billionaire families since we released that book.
Wow. So it sounds to me like you got the book, I got the radio show. It looks like we got some business to do here. Now, Richard, you've interviewed the families, you've met them, you've had your conferences. What is the most effective service that needs to be, allow me to rephrase, what is the most important service that needs to be provided when this family begins to put together its family office?
The #1 most important thing, and the takeaway for anyone here, whether you're worth $10 million or $100 million
Takeaway alert, takeaway alert, takeaway alert.
Is that you shouldn't do anything and spend any money or listen to anyone's advice until you've gone through about 50 to 70 questions on exactly where you're going and what your mission and values and goals and objectives are, so that you can design a 360-degree holistic plan. Otherwise, who cares, what somebody suggests or what your private bank says you should invest in? So you have to know exactly where you want to go before you start building that structure.
So how many questions?
50 to 70 questions is what I go through with a client when I start with them. Yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's somewhat proprietary, so why don't you give me question number 1, and we'll have them call you for the other 49.
Actually, they're all in the book.
Golly gee, but for $7 I get the answers then.
Give them away, yeah.
All right, well,
exactly.
give me one right now.
So the best question is just how risk-adverse is the family, and that's interpreted very directly in what is your goal? Do you want to stay worth $100 million for 5 generations, or do you need a lot of income, or are you trying to go from $100 million? One of my clients is trying to go from a $350 million. He wants to be a billionaire in 12 years or less. So we're structuring his portfolio to help him achieve that.
So wait a minute now. You help structure their portfolio. Do you also help them to identify potential transactions to invest in?
We do the contract that I just referred to is actually a family that just sold their business last year, And they hired me to start their single-family office, help hire out the staff, and then source deals and help them with structuring what types of deals they're going to be entering in, whether it's real estate, operating businesses, et cetera.
So you're a one-stop shop to help somebody who's worth $100 million or more protect their assets. And let's talk about why somebody might want a family office. I've always been thought of the fact that a family office really is defined by being part of a family, because the one individual may have 100 million, 200 million, 300 million. Let's say he has 4 or 5 kids. Cut that up. Right. Suddenly, the purchasing power and ability to invest in transactions really limited. And so, is that why people do these family offices?
I think the number one reason is they're not satisfied with just a private banking relationship. Almost every client I have has 10, 20, $50 million with a private bank, but it's all the other components they don't get from a traditional private bank. Like if they want to own an apartment building that's not syndicated, it's not a REIT, they just want to buy an apartment building. I walked through one today for one of my clients that he might buy directly and own directly, and just many times you're not going to get that through a private bank.
Yeah, actually you won't. Right. Actually, you won't. You get that through me. But we talked about that earlier. We talked about that earlier, and I'd love to help you work with loans and mortgages and leverage that your clients don't need.
For sure.
Now, Richard, you recently moved to Miami, and you renamed your firm the Miami Family Office. First of all, high five to you for getting that, and bad five to me for not doing it first. That was just awesome. That's like money in the bank. Now, you're based out in Key Biscayne.
Right.
Land of the rich and famous out there. Miami's expensive. Key Biscayne just blows it off the charts, I guess. How are you finding Miami as a place to build your business?
I'm loving it, especially Key Biscayne, South Beach, parts of Brickell. Literally just go in and take my daughter to preschool or go into the park. I meet family offices. Every about 10 days I'm meeting one.
Do you wear like a sign that blinks that says, I'm the guy to see because I know how to protect your assets?
I do have a little family crest golf shirt, so that helps sometimes.
That's hilarious. Now, wait, did you design that crest? Is that your legitimate family crest?
It is legitimate. It's from 1586, and it's from England. And I was in a wooden shield growing up, all scratched up, and so I uploaded it to 99 Designs and did a $1,500 design contest, and they had the tongue stick out a bit further and some spiky hair, but it's our real crest, yeah.
Oh, wow, that is just awesome. So do you help I guess a lot of the families have family crests.
Yeah, a lot of them do. Some don't, depends what country they're from. But just to be super clear, because I think it'll be interesting for your clients to know this, is that the Miami Family Office is the brand we created for the single family office that I run for the family, and we're totally transparent on all the assets that they own. Okay. And so at themiamifamilyoffice.com, that's their organization. But I think it'd be fascinating for somebody to go there and they can see all the assets they own.
Oh, so this actually shows a family what your consultations have helped somebody to create.
It shows what's currently in their portfolio, yes, and what we're looking for, which I think many people will say, well, what are they looking to invest in? And it's like all that's detailed there. We don't have time to cover that here, but I think it'll be interesting to see an example of a single-family office in the real world, because most of them don't have websites.
And where is this again?
Themiamifamilyoffice.com.
Okay, well, I'm writing that down. AC, did you write that down? All right, good. And I'm going to make sure that we work with you, and we're going to start coordinating our social with your social, I think. So Robert will be involved, too. We're going to have some great stuff. And like I said, Johnny will be here in just a few minutes. You can meet Johnny, and maybe he can work with you and your families on some social stuff. So I guess that depending on the family, it's always a different investment plan. You said it's risk, what type of assets, all kinds of different things. So question number 2, what would that be? After you've assessed their risk, what's the next thing they got to figure out?
Part of it is their focus. If they created their wealth in manufacturing, typically the families that do best are going to invest a big portion of their wealth in manufacturing again. That might change based on the other 50 questions you ask. The most important thing is to know where they're going holistically, but I think that many families, they have a research and experience, a connection advantage, just like you do in the real estate space. You can help me or my families navigate the real estate space instantly.
My goal,
right?
Free ad, my goal.
So I think that is key, to invest in where you made your money. I mean, it seems obvious, but that's one of the things you need to define early on. Do they want to be like an endowment fund, or do they want to be like a private equity fund, or do they want to be a hybrid and be diversified like an endowment fund in part of their portfolio, but then maybe take some concentrated bets in the industry they know best, or roll up a niche monopoly area in the little operating industry.
Well, this is awesome. You know, we only have like 30 seconds left in this segment. We'll go to break early, maybe, and we'll save a little for the next segment. You can stay for a segment more, can't you?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back after this. We're going to talk about how billion-dollar families protect their assets, do their investments. You'll hear what it's like to be part of the rich and famous. We'll be back after this with more Richard Wilson talking about money, money, money.
Here she come now, say money, money. Shoot 'em down, turn around, come on, money.
You're listening to Freed on Business. To talk to Jim and his guests, call 305-541-2350. That's 305-541-2350. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
All right, we are back, and we are badder than ever. And I've got Richard Wilson. He is the family office man. His company's the $1 billion family office company. And we're going to talk to Richard with more insights about billionaires. So, Richard, let's start off with this. You counsel billionaire families about how to protect their assets. Some of them want to grow their assets. How does a billionaire get richer?
There's really 5 really quick ways. Don't have time to explain all of them, but there are 5 strategies I see $100 million net worth families using. The first one is buying up assets in a very niche monopoly space. Usually, if you act on a very local, regional level or in a small industry, you can dominate a small industry. And, nationally, if you did that, you'd break antitrust rules. But, small-wise, you never really get in much trouble, typically. So definitely sort legal.
No. I can point to a lot of real estate people that are exploiting that, even just in Wynwood and the design district.
In Key Biscayne, for sure. Yeah.
So there are people that are monopolizing and dominating.
Talk
in
to your
real
legal counsel, but
well, no. We're not advocating anybody be a monopoly unless they can be.
Right.
So everybody go out and become a utility next.
Right. Okay. So another strategy is
actually I know a lot of people that got rich being utilities, but we'll talk about that off air.
Another strategy is just getting shown deals faster before anyone else does. You get to buy it before it's even on market, and you get to do J-curve jumps. So you get to monetize it faster because you know the guy to sell it to, you know who to put in place, you know how to improve it, etc.
So what that is sort of like arbitraging the information in the marketplace.
Right.
Okay.
Just what we were talking about before the show, right?
Yeah, information arbitrage. No one needs to know what we're doing.
Yep. Another strategy is a private equity strategy of building a platform business. You buy 5 different companies. They all sell to the same customer, and now you can cross-sell with one strong sales team.
Oh, that's
private
what
equity.
Mr. Wonderful does on Shark Tank.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm just translating into Guy,
And I think just a go-to strategy typically is real estate roll-ups. It'd either be aggregating small pieces of real estate, you put it in a portfolio, tie it with a bow, and sell it to a big institution, or you get distressed real estate, and what it needs is recapitalization, and the past owner was a mom and pop who couldn't recapitalize. You recapitalize, and then you sell it once you made it pretty.
Oh, yeah, the Glazers did that with small little real estate pieces left and right. They've just killed it with their big real estate fund. They did great.
My number one strategy, though, is something that I've focused my whole business on.
Richard, why are people going to hire you? You're giving away the cow here.
That's how they know there's value here, right?
I love you, man.
So Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, he talks about in that book, Vern Harnish does, about how Rockefeller acquired the steel ring producer on the oak barrels and then the oak barrel company, and that the oil wasn't the bottleneck. It was controlling that strategic industry asset of producing the oak barrels, and then he controlled the whole industry after that.
Right, because he was producing the oil, then he produced the containers, and then I guess he produced the railroads.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, my God, the guy was vertically integrated.
So if you own the choke point, then all your industry has to come through you, and that's why we bought singlefamilyoffices.com. That's why we wrote the book. That's why we do our conferences. We're trying to own the choke point of being the most helpful person in the family office industry. Just like you are with real estate in South Florida with families. So.
Yeah, it's great, and I think you're doing it. I think you're doing a great job. That's how we met.
Right.
We met because somebody referred me to you. I said, who's the go-to guy at family office? My friend, I'll never forget this, Mike Shear from Inland referred me to your conference.
That's great.
And then I went there, and Mike introduced me to Tom Handler.
Right.
And it was go from there.
And to bring that point home, anybody can use that. I don't care if you're a college student trying to figure out how to get into an industry, or a $1 million net worth family that has a restaurant, or someone that has a radio show, or you're a billionaire family. You can use that to control little parts of an industry that'll roll on itself, and you get greater and greater access, and you're a toll booth in your industry.
Don't tell anybody my ideas about radio. Would you just stop right there? AC, you're coming with me, by the way, man. We're AC and I. No, AC's the guy behind you with that boy. Can I get a little AC from?
Hey, I'm with you all the way.
I love you, AC. Now, Now, Richard, we've talked about some of the wealth creation strategies. How about some wealth preservation strategies? Because we're in a zero interest rate environment. So anybody taking risk, you got to take a little risk to get any kind of yield.
I'd say the two go-to strategies would be debt strategies, where something's over-collateralized. Like, it's actually a great thing if somebody doesn't make their debt payments. Not great for them, but great for you if you actually have to collect. The other strategy is almost every $100 million family I know owns an apartment building. Again, it's not investment advice that you should, but almost all of them own an apartment building with low to moderate debt or no debt. And then they sometimes will put that in special vehicles so the kids can't mess it up, and you always have $5-10 million a year in cash flow coming in to the family.
100% the right way to go. No-brainer on apartments, and I can always introduce them to the top apartment managers in town. I have a particular friend. His name starts with J. In fact, that's his first name. In any event, so now we've given some good strategies. How about places to live? Where do the rich and famous want to live in none of these tax haven like Monaco or any of that stuff? Where's a good place in America for $1 billion family to live? And you could say South Florida, that's okay.
Right. That's one of the reasons I moved to Key Biscayne. There's 20 billionaires with houses there, and Miami is a top 7 city for ultra wealthy per capita globally. And I think most people don't know that. A lot of New Yorkers that have a lot of money are in Miami.
Invisibly.
Florida,
Invisibly.
Right? So I would say Miami is definitely a top destination. I think that a lot of these billionaires have family connections. They don't want to live on their private jet going back and forth all the time. So many of them are in the Hamptons a lot of the year, or nice places in Connecticut, and they need to get access to New York. But, a lot of them have private transportation to get around, but they don't want to live on a plane.
So that what they do is they bring everybody here. They all meet here.
Right.
Which is why you're out there looking for the 6- and 7-bedroom condos.
Right.
I love this guy. So now, Richard, what do you see as the future of the industry? Because you're creating a choke point. You're actually creating, I'll just have to say it, you're professionalizing the industry. And so the real question is, what do you see going forward? We've gone from a fractured industry that wasn't able to be disrupted because it didn't exist. Mm-hmm. Now you're creating a nice industry. What are your plans to disrupt what you're creating?
Well, first, you're exactly right. When I started, people said, it's not an industry, Richard, and now everyone refers to it as one. But I think that what's happening is all these families that have holding companies are now formalizing to single-family offices. That's happening right now. What's happening in the future that I've only seen happen less than 5 times out of thousands of family offices I've spoken to is that the single-family offices that usually have no website and they're not public at all are becoming very public within a holding company.
Your idea, your Miami
the MiamiFamilyOffice.com. So you'd have to have something like that, or you won't get good deal flow. No one knows you exist. They don't know what you want to invest in.
So they're starting to market themselves, because back in the day, they just go to one of the big pension fund advisors and put their money in and get locked in as the world went down in the toilet. They couldn't push a button and liquefy.
Right.
Sounds like that's what they're looking for.
Right, and they all complain, no one shows us good deal flow, or I only have deals from the 12 other $100 million families I know. How come we don't get shown good deals? And it's because no one knows you exist.
Right. I mean, okay, there's got to be a Firestone out there. There's got to be a Rothschild out there. But who's the company that's behind Hot Pockets, for instance?
Right. I mean, I think that the problem is that if you're not already so famous you can't help but be in the limelight, like Richard Branson, then a lot of those other families have never really tried, and then they have to go through brokers and investment funds and private banks. And
they just love paying fees, don't they?
Right.
That was a joke, everybody. I think that Richard was going to retch when I said that.
Right. Yeah. Very anti-fee, and I think a lot of them are migrating away from taxes. More people have left the United States in the past 6 to 8 years and denounced their citizenship by a multiple of 100 than a couple presidencies before.
Well, I think that we need to get a change in leadership in that regard. We don't do a lot of politics, but Lord knows I want to keep what I make and build on that and not give all that away either, but I'm not running for president, at least in this cycle. Now, Richard, we've only got about a minute left. If people want to get a hold of you, other than calling me directly, how do they find you?
The number one thing is to go to singlefamilyoffices.com and go to Amazon, type in Single Family Office book, Richard Wilson, buy the book. I guarantee you're going to love it, or I'll literally send you money in the mail and give your money back, because you're going to love the book. I think it's great.
Well, if the book is anything like this interview, they're going to love it, because I love the interview, and I got to ask a question. Will you come back, because you're going to have your conference soon? I want to have you and Handler in the same room, see if you're not the same guy, Superman and Batman or whatever it was, Batman and whatever. But we'll see if we can get you and Handler in here. Maybe we can even get Shear on. We'll see. He's that's your quiet guy.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'd love to everyone to come and attend. It's December 1st and 2nd, JW Marriott on Brickell. And it's going to be 500 professionals there, over 150 family offices in the room. There's more single-family offices and billionaire families in that room than any other stage in the world for 2015.
It's where I learned the family office business and where I began to make my connections. You must attend this conference if you're interested in the family office business. Richard, thanks for being on the show. Right after this, we're going to coordinate when you're coming on again, because this was great. We'll be back after this. Johnny is taking photos, he's getting social, and we are getting ready to rock it back after this.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Family Office Podcast, powered by FamilyOffices.com.